because I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncers' guilt rings.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
Oscar Bevis, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Nina Hughes joins me. Nina, thank you very much for giving me some of your time. How are we on this lovely day? We're finally getting some weather.
I know, finally, summer's here. It better stay anyway.
Well, fingers crossed. Yeah, fight week's only around the corner for you. Fans will know about the change in opponent. It was Shannon Courtenay. It's now Katie Healy. There's kind of a few things that I want to dissect. Can you just kind of timeline events for us, perhaps starting from when you found out at first about the pullout or the news surrounding Shannon?
Okay, so 2 weeks before the final pullout, we was told the fight was off. Shannon had pulled out. She didn't want to fight. She only wanted an 8-rounder. And then the next day, she changed her mind and it was back on. So then it was all going ahead again. It was back on, and then 2 weeks later, it was off again. And at the time, we wasn't given any reason. So obviously, from the reasons we had from the 2 weeks prior, it's pretty easy to come to conclusions as to what you think the reason is. I mean, the first we heard of any injury was when I posted that the fight was off. We'd never heard of any injury before that. It is what it is. But yeah, it was just gutting because it was a big fight. But she was a big name. Like, it was a fight that people wanted to see. It seemed like when it was announced, it created a lot of interest. So yeah, obviously, I want to be in the big fights. I want to be in the fights that people want to see. So yeah, it was obviously gutting that it pulled out, but it's not a lot you can do about it. So we have to move on. Yeah.
Is there a little bit of, I don't want to say bad blood, but is there a little bit of kind of ill feelings? Obviously, I saw, and people would have seen the Instagram post you put up, perhaps hinting at that she might have shit herself from the fight, I guess. Is there kind of a bit of ill feeling there then because this fight's not happening?
Look, I've got nothing against Shannon. I honestly haven't. But yeah, I suppose at the time it was just frustration. We just felt like we'd been messed around, obviously, because we just felt like it was because she hadn't taken it seriously. Like, I just think it had got close. As it got closer, it dawned on her that she probably was miles over the weight. She hadn't trained properly. She hadn't had the best camp, and she knew how hard the task was ahead of her. I think she knew she was in the hardest fight of her career. So it's not particularly any bad blood. I've got nothing against her. Like, it was just, I suppose, it was my frustration as well that she'd pulled out.
Yeah. Did it kind of change a couple of days for you in camp as well? Because obviously you said you found out and then the next day it was on. Was there kind of a couple of days where things changed a bit? I know you'd still be training, still working hard, but was there a couple of days where things had changed a bit for you?
Well, it wasn't so much change. It's just that, like, you're just wondering what's happening. And obviously when it was back on, I suppose in the back of my mind, I just had this bad feeling that she was going to pull out again. I was just thinking, is she going to make the weight? Is it going to happen? Like, and then when we got the dreaded phone call again 2 weeks later, I was like, oh. So yeah, it was all up in the air a bit. But yeah, just had to. But they found a new opponent pretty quickly, and yeah, just have to focus on Katie Healy now.
Yeah, we'll talk about Katie in a second. Perhaps some of the options that were tabled. In terms of you and Shannon going forward, I've spoke to you about this, and I spoke to Kev about this before. You kind of have a plan of what you want to do. You want to unify. Potentially fight Ebony. There's big fights with Dina in the future. Do you look at this now and kind of the Shannon part of the path and just say that's done now, to the side? Yeah, that's not going to happen now.
Yeah, because you get a voluntary, don't you? So obviously Shannon was my voluntary. So now Katie Healy's my voluntary. So after that, we want to unify. So like, obviously I can't look past Katie, and I'm not. My fully focus is on her. And but yeah, should I come through this victorious, then yeah, the next step is to try and unify. So. Unless Shannon gets a belt, we're not looking at that anymore.
Yeah. What options were tabled for you then? Because I can imagine when there's a world title fight, there's obviously going to be so many takers, and word gets around quickly in boxing. So I can imagine you perhaps had a few people maybe even piping up to Eddie saying, I want to be the voluntary, or like what was kind of tabled to you?
I don't know really. There was a few options. Can't even remember who there was now. Yeah, I mean, there's loads of people on my social media. I think people I've never even heard of, like, also give this person a chance. Like, it happens. Like, obviously, I mean, I was in the same boat. I wanted a chance when I got the chance to fight Jamie Mitchell. Everyone's going to be wanting a chance. But yeah, Katie Healy was the one they wanted, and yeah, I think it's a good fight. She's undefeated, English as well, so it makes a good domestic battle. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be a good fight.
Yeah, what can you tell us about what she'll bring stylistically and what sort of fight we can expect her to bring on the 10th?
Well, we've watched a bit of her. She's like tall and rangy. So yeah, we've got our tactics and we know what we're gonna do. So can't say too much.
Yeah. I can imagine Ebony might be ringside or around the fight week. We know what Matchroom want. We know what you want. You just said it a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
There's going to be kind of a bit of a narrative around that fight week. So how is that for you? Because I can imagine she'll be looking through the ropes, but obviously you've got to do your job still. But that narrative's
Yeah.
always there because people want unification.
Yeah, I can't think about anything past that now. Like, obviously, you dream and you do think about things past it, but yeah, for these next 2 weeks, I'm blocking anything out in the future, and I just got because if I don't win this, then none of that's going to happen. So yeah, I just got to focus on this on now. Make sure I defend my title.
There you go. Can we expect you to go out and stick it on her, try and put that statement performance that makes perhaps the likes of the future fights and the people who might fight go, yeah, we knew she was good, but now we're looking at a different beast.
Yeah, hopefully. Like, we've worked really hard with this. We've had a long camp, and we've trained so hard. We worked on so many different things as well, because even though she changed her opponent, changed her style, when we was training for Shannon, we was training for everything. Whether like she come forward, whether she went backwards, like we trained for a lot of different things. So it doesn't make much difference. We've adjusted things slightly, adjusted the sparring partner slightly, but yeah, same mission to make a statement, whether it was Shannon or Katie.
Yeah. Just one final thing, obviously, it's a big night. Son Edwards is defending his world title. Cards in London, especially this time of year, it's always going to feel kind of big. In terms of your career and perhaps when you started and where you've come from, does this kind of feel like a bit of a, not pinch me moment, because I guess you was always confident you'd get here, but I don't know, a big fight, London, like, does this kind of feel like just the pinnacle of so much hard work?
Yeah, definitely. Because obviously it's all a new experience to me. This will be. All my other fights have been on small hall shows, and in Dubai it was like obviously a big. It was a world title fight, and the venue was amazing, but it was still in front of a small capacity of people. So yeah, this is the first time having the whole fight week, having a big arena, big stage, lots of people watching. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Because I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt rings.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,